Well, but first we want to go up to Capitol Hill, where Representative Tom Price, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee, Republican from Georgia, is joining us from the Cannon House office building. Mr. Price, let's begin with what the president had to say on the economy. He spoke for 25 minutes on that, and he started by saying the shadow of the crisis has passed. Do you agree?
I think not. I think that we have had some uptick in the economy of late, and that's good. The problem is that if you look out and see that the policies of this administration, they will continue to increase not just the deficit, but the debt, as one of your callers talked about. And the fact is that the president didn't even mention the debt, $18 trillion in debt. And that's not just a number. Every dollar that we put to debt has to be paid for from an interest standpoint, and every dollar that we pay for interest doesn't go to health care, doesn't go to education, doesn't go to infrastructure, doesn't go to national defense. And we're about to within a very short period of time, spend $1 trillion a year just on the interest on our debt. So we've got to get our economy rolling and grow this economy up so that we can lift all boats. And I didn't hear the president talk about that. I heard him talk about dividing the nation between income and class, taking from one person and giving to another. That's not the way we became the greatest nation in the history of the world.
The Wall Street Journal says that he made a middle-class pitch last night. What are the Republicans' ideas to help middle-class and low-income Americans?
Well, we've been passing them through the House. The fact of the matter is, last Congress, the Senate wouldn't take any of them up. We've got a jobs bill that would provide for more job creators, more jobs to be able to be created across this country. Just this year already, we've passed through the House a Hire More Veterans Act, Hire More Heroes Act. The president says he wants veterans to be able to be employed. We've passed a bill that would do just that. And what does the president say to that bill? That he'll veto it. We've passed a bill that would increase the definition of full-time work from not 30 hours, the way the president wants it to be, which it is right now, to 40 hours. So that's a fully 1/3 or 25% increase in one's income. And what does the president say he'll do to that? Veto it. So what we've seen out of the president is a lot of lofty talk, a lot of great rhetoric, but nothing that will bring about a healthy economy.
Yeah, the president did say last night that he will veto any effort by Republicans to undo any of his legislative initiatives. That includes the Affordable Care Act, immigration, etc. What can Republicans do? What do you have? What tools do you have to respond to any veto?
Well, what the American people said in November is that they want Congress to speak with one voice. And so, thankfully, we've been given the opportunity to have both a Republican House and a Republican Senate. And what we need to do is to pass quality, positive legislation that gets people back to work, that recognizes that health care is between a patient and a family and a doctor and not the federal government, that unleashes our energy resources across this nation, and that ensures that we have the greatest amount of national security. And then put them on the president's desk. And then the president has a choice. He can either sign it, which means it will be good policy for the American people, or he can veto it, which is his opportunity and his choice. If he does that, then the American people will know who's fighting here in Washington for them, who's trying to get this nation on the right track, and who's standing in the way.
Where do you see Republicans and the president agreeing and passing some legislative initiatives?
Well, a couple big areas. One is the whole area of trade that the president that talked about. He's been sitting on his hands on this, and we've been begging him for years, literally, to get in this game and help some of his Democrat colleagues recognize that the more trade we are able to utilize with other countries, the more that helps our middle class, the more that helps job creation in the United States. The area of infrastructure, transportation. We look forward to working with the president on getting a transportation highway bill through the Congress this year so that we can repair our infrastructure, yes, but also increase capacity in the most congested areas. And then I'm hopeful from a Ways and Means and a budget standpoint that we'll be able to work on tax reform. The president has skirted the issue a bit. Last night he talked a lot about raising taxes. What we believe needs to be done is wholesale tax reform so that we can get this economy rolling again and get jobs being created. I hope that the president recognizes that the ideas that we've been putting on the table are positive ideas that the American people sent us to Washington after last November's election to do.
Sir, specifically, what tax initiatives that the president talked about last night could Republicans be open to in some sort of overall tax reform package?
Well, the president talks about closing loopholes. We've been for closing loopholes before closing loopholes was cool. We've been urging decreasing the number of deductions and credits that are available in the tax code, lowering the rate, broadening the base so that everybody's able to benefit from tax reduction. That gets this economy rolling again. The president has talked about, I don't think he did last night, but talked about decreasing the corporate tax rate. We have the highest business tax rate in the industrialized world, so that we're not competitive when it relates to the global economy that we have in the area of taxes. The president has talked about bringing that down. We wholly support that and look forward to working with the president on that, bringing down taxes for both large and small businesses, those job creators that are out there across the country.
Finally, Congressman, what's it like to sit in the House chamber for a State of the Union address? What does it mean to you?
Well, it's always exciting, and it's a wonderful hearkening back to the founders and the institutions that they created. I'm a little saddened, though, because I think it's become much more of a political speech as opposed to a policy speech, and that's happened over the years through both administrations. I think that the tone ought to be set to that we ought to be working together, ought to be getting together and solving the challenges that are before us that the American people sent us here to solve. If we do that, if we get things done here in Washington on behalf of the American people, then I know we can turn this economy around, get the middle class rolling again, get jobs being created, and have the world recognize America for what it ought to be, and that is the leader of the free world.
And as Budget Chairman, sir, what should Americans be watching for from you? What's your first priority?
Well, the first priority is to pass a budget through the House and the Senate that actually gets to balance. We can't continue to run these deficits and debt and expect that our economy is going to get rolling again. So the president talked about deficits a little bit last night. What he didn't talk about is balancing the budget. And that's absolutely imperative. Every single one of your listeners, every single one of your viewers out there understands that they can't spend more money than they have available to them to spend, than they take in. The government's no different, and we ought not be spending the kind of money that we don't have in this town. So we will pass a budget that will get to balance, that will demonstrate the kind of policies, whether it's tax reform or energy policy or health care policy, that will assist in turning this country around from an economic standpoint, get those jobs being created across this great land.
All right, House Budget Chairman Tom Price, Republican of Georgia, appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks so much.